I'd like to thank Deepak and Georges for inviting me here. It's very fitting that this new institute is actually a perfect example of sustainability of one of the projects that was funded through IMI. And it would be great if all of the IMI projects had such a good sustainability outcomes. We'd be in a great position. So what I'd like to do today is to give you a little bit of background as to what our current environment is in terms of the challenges that we face. A little bit about IMI for those of you who may be less familiar with the Innovative Medicines Initiative, why it exists, why we need it. And then go a little more into detail on big data, because obviously a lot of what we do, a lot of our projects are linked to big data, and we'll talk about the challenges and future prospects. So first of all, what's our background? And Deepak already alluded to some of this earlier on, but a lot of what we do is driven by science, and the scientific developments over the past years never cease to amaze in terms of the amount and the speed at which scientific knowledge is created. We have a collective issue in our ability to translate that knowledge and bring that knowledge closer to patients. And that challenge is a huge one, and we're not very good at it. So we need to find ways to accelerate that. And we have to do that in an environment where public health challenges are very, every day we hear of a new outbreak. The latest one, of course, is Zika virus that's making everybody nervous. But we also have the burden on health systems around chronic diseases. That demand on health provision is increasing, and we're in a more constrained economic environment. And I say industry is adapting, but in fact, everybody is adapting to this new ecosystem. And there are specific challenges in developing new and innovative medicines, and this is a high-risk business. There's a large failure rate, as you know, in the industry. It's a very inefficient process because there's a lot of duplication within the industry, everybody working on the same thing. And when those things fail early on, it's a large waste of resources. So it's expensive, it's complex, long timelines, and we find it difficult to bring in the latest science into the drug development process in a timely manner. So all this has a significant impact on the affordability and the speed of access for innovation for patients. And this is where, in part, it's not a magic bullet, but in part, IMI comes in. So what we hope to do through the Innovative Medicines Initiative is share risk. So through public-private partnerships, we encourage companies to share data, to share the risk, obviously to share the rewards when successful as well, increasing efficiency of drug development, reducing duplication of effort if they share at early stages, makes it more efficient, and incentivize companies to play in that non-competitive or pre-competitive space. And so hopefully reducing timelines, making it easier through our partnerships between academia and the private sector to get the more cutting-edge research into drug development very early on. And that's a very important productive interface between the public and private sectors. Putting the patients at the center of things is obviously very important. It's really challenging to do, and we need to do a lot more work on this. But it's, the patients are the most important part of this. And in order to do all that, we need massive amounts of data and all of the challenges that you've already heard in terms of data integration, interoperability. All of these things play a major role. So for those of you who may not know IMI, we're a large public-private partnership. There's an investment of €5 billion in there, half from the European Union through the European Commission, and half through FPA companies who involve their contribution is in kind. So it's actually people and consumables coming from the industry that are integrated into the project. There have been 2 phases in our history. IMI 1, which was a €2 billion initiative, which is now, all of that money is now allocated to 59 projects, a lot of whom are still ongoing. And we're now in the second phase, very innovatively called IMI 2, which is a €3.3 billion initiative that I have the pleasure and honor to lead. And that goes from 2014 to 2024, but in fact, we will have allocated all of that 3.3 billion around 2020, so in 4 years' time. So what's obviously IMI 2 is building on the success of IMI 1, but is expanding in its role. So we're expanding in several ways. First of all, this notion of end-to-end integration, bringing in more stakeholders, both from the research end and the consumer end, the payers, the patients, and so on and so forth, bringing those onto a neutral platform that is IMI. And then in order to do that, of course, in order to deliver what we need to deliver, we need to bring on board industries other than the pharmaceutical industries. So that's another push we're making in IMI 2, bringing on the ICT players, bringing on the diagnostic companies, bringing on the imaging companies, everything we need to build success. And our vision is really to do with the science driver, which is understanding we're changing the way medicine is going to be delivered from a symptomatological and organ-based system to a molecular and evidence-based system, redefining the taxonomy of disease. In terms of some examples that we have in IMI, there are many, and I'm going to go through a few very, very quickly in the interests of time. But what we're talking about here is all kinds of data. So it can be research informatics, type of omic genomics data or molecular data, but also bringing in imaging data and other types of data that can be very informative. We are acting in we're in the translational space. This is what is the interface, and Deepak has that very nice slide of the clinical research needs and the healthcare delivery needs. And what is that space in the middle? Well, we are exactly in that middle space. And that middle space has to be populated through educational programs, through informatic programs, through data integration programs, so that we can actually oscillate between the clinical research agenda and the healthcare delivery agenda. And that space, in my view, is going to remain very blurred for a long time. And I think it's a good thing that remains blurred. And then real-world data we've already talked about a little bit. So I'll give you a couple of examples, and I'll just pick a topic that's a hot topic, huge burden on the health system, and a bit of a black box in terms of the etiology of this disease. But we can learn a lot about this disease by integrating a whole number of data sets from different projects that we have ongoing within the IMI portfolio. So whether we're talking about the EMIF project, now that Bart is... I'm sorry. Oh, you're leaving already? Okay. Linking and analyzing data, looking at risk factors for Alzheimer's disease, to looking at different biomarkers for the disease, through looking at a project called Ateonomy, which is really looking at classification of these diseases. There is no one thing which is Alzheimer's disease. It's a many diseases, as are most of the common diseases. It's not just one disease. Another one that we're very interested in is schizophrenia. And there, companies have decided, because they can see the value of sharing their experience, so they've just shared their clinical data on 23,000 patients, which is one of the largest data sets that's ever been created. And here companies, very new paradigm for them to actually share data amongst themselves. We have projects in predictive toxicology. I'm not going to go into any of the details here. We have projects in silico models of tumor development. We have knowledge management models that look at different projects and how we integrate data from these different projects. And of course, this particular project that we're going to hear a lot about today, and I'm not going to talk about it at all. So our current challenges and approaches are looking at these massive amounts of data that are being produced, and these come from all kinds of different sources, whether they're inpatient, outpatient, hospital data, prescription data, claims information, all kinds of data, and trying to link this with research data and other data sets and scaling that. So I think that my favorite words are integration, scalability, sustainability, interoperability. That you're going to hear a lot of things about that today. We try and do this under an umbrella that we call Big Data for Better Outcomes project. And the goals are really to try and exploit the opportunities offered by large data sets, and then support the evolution towards outcome-focused and sustainable healthcare systems. And we have a number of objectives, a number of umbrella groups around those projects, whether it's designing sets of standards, increasing access to high-quality data, a lot of the things that you're going to be talking about today. And future challenges, so how do we sustain these very valuable data sets? And it's not sustainability for sustainability's sake, but who's going to use it? If a data set is developed, who's going to use that data? Who puts a value on that data? And how do we work on sustaining those in a valid way? And of course, the challenges are data integration from multiple sources, data interfaces, looking at scale, because it's not just one institution, it's institution to institution. It's not just one country, it's country to country. And there are a lot of issues around how we share those. So we need to engage, we can't do this alone. We're going to engage with, infrastructures, the European infrastructure around data called Elixir, DG Connect, obviously, and there are some global initiatives that are important. Institutional, legal, social issues related to the use of clinical data, you're going to be talking about, I know, and the famous word interoperability. And there are some very big global programs. I've just mentioned one here, Global Alliance for Genomics and Health, which attempt to look at some of those problems from a global point of view. So and this is particularly important in rare diseases, in cancer, and in other diseases where data sets need to be shared across political boundaries as well as institutional boundaries. So very happy to be here and chat with you today in this very interesting and historic location. I believe that IMI is a magnet for collaboration and co-investment. People will want to use this platform because it represents many of the stakeholders. We have an ability to do things at scale. We are lucky to have access to resources, both financial and people resources, in a very special and unique collaboration between the public and private sectors. And we feel that it's an open enough model that hopefully will be attractive to other disciplines coming on board and making us deliver really interesting and exciting results. Thank you very much for your attention.